Hidden in this beautiful paywall are 3 mistakes that could get your app rejected in less than 30 seconds. And here's the part that should scare you. These mistakes are common in AI-generated paywalls and AI-generated code. And they'll get your app rejected quicker than you can say, Bob's my uncle. So I'm going to show you how each mistake is made, which guideline it breaks, and how to fix it, starting with the foundation, the transaction bug that makes the other mistakes possible. Let's say I've got this lovely paywall view here that I've built, and I can buy Charles Xavier membership. I can buy an X-Men Pro membership, but actually there's some problems lurking in this code. So let's take a look at that. So here I got my purchase, and if I expand this here, it looks pretty good, right? So here I click the purchase button. I say a purchase is in progress. I defer my purchase in progress. So when we exit, that's when it's going to do, mark it as done. And then I do this nice purchase right there. Perfect. Exactly what I'm supposed to do. And then once that returns, I get my result. And if it's success, I say, hey, let's make sure it's verified. That's pretty smart. Okay, it's a verified transaction. And then I say, great, it's verified. Let's insert the own product ID here into our array. And now we can grant those privileges to the user. But there's a problem here. And the problem is we didn't finish the transaction. If we don't call finish transaction, it'll keep telling us to finish it. So if you don't finish your transaction, Apple's going to keep sending it to you over and over and over again. And every time it's expecting it to be finished. It's like, hey, I've sent you this transaction. I've told you that it's verified. You just need to say that you've handled it correctly. That's what saying finish does. I've got it from you. Thank you. I've now handled it in my app. And so by not finishing it, we're committing the first cardinal sin is we're telling Apple, hey, I've got your stuff, but I don't know what to do with it. And if you do that, boom, Apple's going to reject you because you're not delivering a complete product. And so either you never handle these again, and the next time the user restarts, he's not going to have the pro experience that he's expecting because we haven't saved this information. Or he comes back in and you're going to get this transaction and say, oh, I guess I need to give him the pro experience because we got this transaction that says that it's verified and it's ready to use. And boom, you're going to get rejected. The Apple guideline we're breaking here is 2.1, app completeness. Apple's exact words, if you offer in-app purchases, make sure they are complete, up-to-date, visible to the reviewer, and functional. But there's actually another bug lurking in this code, and this is how we handle the actually awaiting. So here we have our task where we say, hey, we're going to await updates. And we start this when this view pops up. Now, if this was the root view of the app, that's okay. It's not going to cause us any problems. But if it's on any other view, it might get deinitialized. And if that happens, we stop listening for updates. And so if a user buys a subscription on another device, or let's say their mother grants the purchase and says, hey, I approve this, and now it's coming through, well, you're going to miss it. And if you miss it, Apple's going to reject you. So that's the second mistake, is you put the updates on a view that's going to disappear. Most people put these listeners in the view. I say, put it right on the app. So let's look at how we might fix this. One way is to create something like an entitlements manager. And so here I've created one, and in its initialization, that's when I'm start listening to updates. And when I get a verified transaction, I call finish. And so this is now going to run as soon as this is created. And the key thing is I'm going to create this at the root of the app. And so as soon as the app is created, we're going to create this object, and we're going to start listening for any updates that come through, and we're going to finish the verified transactions. And then we're going to call this refresh entitlements. And what does refresh entitlements does? It goes through all the current entitlements in the transactions, and it looks for them. It says, okay, great. We got verified transactions. Hey, has it been revoked? No? All right, we're going to continue with those. Okay, if it hasn't been revoked, let's go through the product IDs and unlock the correct product IDs. And since this is a subscription, let's make sure that it's still active. And if it is, great. We're going to continue and add the active subscription. And then we assign those to our variables that can be checked throughout the app wherever we've locked down our content. So here's it being created here at the app root. Right when we initialize, we're creating our entitlements. And then the cool thing is we can just add it into the environment. And once we've done that, we can now use it in any of our views and pass that information down to check whether the user has unlocked this information. A key thing to point out about the creation of the entitlements is that we're using a state variable. That way, when the entitlements manager updates, because it's gotten a new transaction coming in, it'll automatically update all the views downstream of it. And that's exactly what we want, so that the user never has to wait and check whether they've got the permissions that they should have. If you're finding this useful, take a moment to like and subscribe. Let's look at this way of handling our purchases and granting entitlements to our users. So let's say you have this entitlement manager. Here we grant our premium access and we use user defaults to store that. Okay, and so here we say user defaults, we store it, say it's true, and we grant the privileges here for this published variable. And then when we reinitialize, so like when the app reloads and we come back in and start it, we check the user defaults to see if it's been granted or not. Seems reasonable, but here is our problem. What happens if a user deletes the app and then reinstalls it? They're going to lose these privileges, right? We're not checking anything else. They're going to try to go and make another purchase, and that is going to get your app kicked off. Additionally, if a user requests a refund or it expires, we're not looking at that in this code. And so again, they're going to either have too many privileges or not enough because we are not checking the entitlements like we should. So the issue here is that the source of truth is living on this particular device. You switch devices, boom, you've lost this information. You reinstall on the same device, boom, you've lost this information. Any one of these scenarios is going to get your app rejected. The real source of truth is our entitlements. That's what Apple says is, hey, this is what these people have paid for. Use this information. And the second issue here is you look at this and there is no way to clear our user defaults. So they have these privileges in perpetuity. And that's not good for you and your bottom line. Pause this video right now and search your code base for user defaults near your entitlement granting. If you find it, congratulations, you've just found mistake number 2. So how does our entitlement manager handle this differently? Well, right when we come in, we check and refresh our entitlements. So every time the app loads, we're refreshing our entitlements. And our refresh entitlements, all it does is circle through every single entitlement that currently exists in the transactions, make sure they're verified, make sure all the information is allowed, and then unlocks the correct privileges for those transactions and those entitlements. So the source of truth is always coming from Apple. It's always the transactions. We don't have to store this anywhere else. A single source of truth. And this improves your bottom line because if Apple revokes an entitlement, that's going to come through immediately here. And we're going to say, oh my goodness. Actually, it's going to come through up here on the updates. We're going to get an update and it's going to say, hey, you got to refresh your entitlements. And we'll come through and go, oh my goodness, this has been revoked. And what we see here in the entitlement manager is that we're not storing this information. We are letting it only live as long as the app is alive and it's only updated through the transactions, through Apple. This means there's nothing to refresh, there's nothing to clear out, there's nothing to do but just listen for Apple, see what they tell us, and do as we're told. According to Apple guidelines, you have to have a way for a user to restore their purchases. So what does this look like? Under what we've done so far, they should never really need to do that. We're listening for transactions as soon as we load the app, and we're giving them the correct permissions and entitlements as soon as those come in. So there should never be a reason to restore, but we are required to provide it because what if the user is logged out? What if the user has just barely purchased something and we just haven't received it? So what should we do? So the first thing you have to do is you have to have a button where the user can call restore. and it's pretty much just got to stay restore or restore purchases. That's pretty much what you have to do in any app where you allow purchasing. The next question is, what do you want that button to do? Obviously, it's got to restore the purchases, but the flow in which we do this can take on a couple of different shapes. One way is you could just call this App Store Sync. What's that going to do for us? Well, this is going to cause a hard refresh. This is going to cause them and force them to log into their account to check it every single time. And that can be kind of painful. And as we check here in the documentation, as they say, important, this will prompt the user to authenticate and only call this function on the user's interaction. So it's okay to call in this context because the user is tapping it, but we should be relatively careful with that. How might we do this a little bit better? Here's one way of choosing an escalating way of doing this. First, the user is going to tap restore on their device. And when they do that, we're going to pass the manager in and we're going to have it refresh its entitlements. This is going to cover most cases. It's going to say, hey, let me quick see if I missed something, go through the transactions, and then if they have the premium access, we're just going to restore it and we don't have to do anything else. If that fails, then we escalate. We go, okay, let's do a hard refresh. And we're going to say, hey, you're going to have to log in and check manually because maybe they had logged out and we weren't getting the updated transactions that they expected. And now that we've done that, we can sync again and say, hey, let's refresh our entitlements and check it and see if we've missed anything. So this way it's nice because some users might tap that restore and not need to be prompted. It might even just be tapping it for fun. And we can just say, hey, look, we're good. You're good. You got your entitlements. Let's go. Have fun. But some users might actually need it. And that's when we would move into step 2 and actually escalate this. But you have to have a restore button. Otherwise, you will get rejected. My first app, I didn't have a restore button and I was rejected summarily. The cool thing is that mistakes 2 and 3 are both solved by proper usage in the entitlement manager. As long as we use a single source of truth for everything we can do, those problems will just disappear. Mistake number 1's remedy is also handled in the entitlement manager, making it refresh automatically as soon as the app starts. Which of these 3 mistakes is hiding in your code right now? Let me know. When I shipped my first app, I had no way to test all the edge cases that are required. What happens when a user cancels? What happens when a subscription was canceled or revoked? What happens if a child asks permission from a parent? Some of these features actually didn't exist at the time. In episode 2, I'll show you the StoreKit2 file, which allows you to test every single edge case without even opening App Store Connect. This is episode 1 of 4 in the StoreKit2 series. Ship it right. If you don't want to miss the rest, take a moment to subscribe. The full series arcs will be covering testing, automation, and server-side validation. See the description for a link to the sample code as well as a bunch of useful links related to this video.